Hi, I'm Yancida Ariano. I'm the Program Supervisor of Culture Connect Inland Intercultural Youth Wellness Initiative. And here we are joined by amazing interns that have joined this cohort where we talk about mental, emotional, and behavioral health and ways to destigmatize mental health in our community. And here to introduce themselves are our lovely interns.
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm the Marketing Communications Officer.
Hi, I'm Yara. I'm your Documentation Officer.
Hi, I'm Santiago. I'm Outreach and Programming Officer.
Hi, I'm Giselle, and I'm the Lead Youth Officer.
And here to speak on our behalf on mental health is an amazing guest speaker, Dr. Michelle Pruett. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Michelle Pruett, and I am a holistic educator and metaphysical counselor. Happy to be here today.
Thank you so much for being here. And today we're going to be talking about topics ranging from systemic issues, mental health issues, and overall mental health issues within the community with youth and ways to destigmatize mental health and start conversations going, creating a safe space within our community for youth and for families, parents, caregivers, and literally everyone that could benefit from this.
I want to introduce our guest speaker again, Dr. Michelle Pruett. So Dr. Pruett, can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to work in the field of mental health?
Thank you, Giselle. Yeah, I'm happy to share because I think my journey is somewhat unusual because I come from education and I've kind of crossed over into the field of mental health. But when I think about my journey, it is a natural progression. So I went to University of California in the late 90s. I studied English literature and my minor was sociocultural linguistics. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. But along the way, I had some amazing job opportunities that I was able to enter that helped me to prepare to be a teacher. Some of those were things like being a site director at the YMCA, working at daycare programs, while in college or over the summer. But there was one particular experience that really shaped me and really, I think, got me on this trajectory of how can I look at education through a lens of mental health? And that opportunity came to me my third year of college when I worked at a level 12 facility that was a 24-hour residential care facility in Santa Barbara. And it served teen girls who had been placed by the juvenile probation department to live in this facility. Many were foster youth. Some had committed crimes. Some had other things happening to them, and they were on 24-hour supervision. Mm-hmm. So there was staff that attended school with them. There was, they were never alone, okay, unless they were asleep, and even then we were constantly
monitoring them.
Yeah. And so with this particular opportunity, I had a chance to get all of this training, right? Workplace training through that job. And so early on, I got training in things like anxiety management, behavior modification, stress reduction, suicide prevention. And these were things that were not necessarily being talked about in education yet at all. I mean, I hadn't encountered them in my high school education, and I hadn't really encountered them in the 2 years of my college education either. So getting this training was like super important. It was very helpful to me. And then being able to work with those girls in the home and see the ways that their education was impacted, right, by their mental health. So I started off as a student teacher at Monrovia High School. Then I was a paid intern at Chaffee High School, which is how I met Giselle, and where I've been for the last 23 years. And at that period of time, mental health was not spoken about. It was really about academic achievement. And at that time, there was a lot of adversity in the school and the community. There were things happening that were disenfranchising students. And so there were some socioeconomic and sociopolitical aspects happening behind the scenes. But in 2015, the students' journals, their reflections, their discussions, they were so sad. This would have been the class of 2017, because this was, maybe 2017, 2018, because it was 2015 where there were sophomores in my classroom. And this was an honors class, honors English, and this was an Avid 2 class. And they just were so anxious and sad, and their mental health was suffering, and they would open up about it and they would ask for help. Is there someone we can see at the school? And at this point in time, there weren't grant fundings. The mental health supports were really outsourced to third parties. So maybe a student can get some funding to see a third party, but there was a lot of red tape. Like parents had to give permission. It was, do they have transportation? It was just so many things. And then of course, there wasn't the online component back then where students could just hop on and get, therapy online. So I thought about it and I'm like, what is happening? There were some socio-political things happening for sure. But I said, wait a minute, when were you guys born? And the majority of those students have been conceived or born during 9/11, right? During 2001. And they were either in utero during 9/11 attack or they were born, around that time period. And I kind of thought to myself, seems like they are suffering some sort of collective trauma by proxy of their parents, the collective consciousness. Something has went on in their lives that has placed them particularly susceptible to trauma.
Yeah.
I also had become a mom a year prior to this, so I think I was more open also to seeing through not just the teacher's lens, but the mother lens, like, oh no, you won't, not these babies. And so, and then having to understand that the school system wasn't set up to support that at all. Like, no. And then as a teacher feeling somewhat disempowered, but also remembering my strategies that I had learned way back when I was a residential counselor, and doing things like breath work with the students. And these were things that had helped me in my life, that had helped me find success and deal with trauma.
Thank you so much for everyone watching at home, and I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. And thank you so much to Dr. Pruett for joining us today and touching on so many different topics on mental health.
Oh, thank you, and thank you to El Sol Culture Connect for really allowing this space with these young folks and the enriching conversation. Thank you to the listeners and observers who really are the ones to make a difference and get involved and be the future legacy that will take us to the next level.
If you're interested on more opportunities to join Culture Connect, please follow us on our social media at El Sol NEC, or you can also scan this QR code to join our next cohort. Thank you so much for watching.